I hear your SOS, your SOS.
Hey guys, I wanted to just quickly say a big thank you to you all for watching, and I wanted to apologize for not uploading for more. I think it's been over a month. I've had a few things happen and court paperwork that I've really had to prioritize, and mainly just I don't want to be talking about this topic and this subject while my little boy is around, and as a single mum, time without him is quite scarce, and I only really have one day a week that I know that he's not going to be in my care, and I've really had to prioritize a few other tasks and organizing paperwork and getting stuff sorted and stuff like that on the day that I don't have him. So that's really mainly why I haven't uploaded, because I haven't been recording as often, and yeah, so I just wanted to say sorry, and thanks for tuning in again, and I guess we'll jump straight into the next part of the story. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please bear with me. I'm going to try and tell you about the week immediately after separation as best as I can possibly remember it. So last video we left off with me leaving our family home with my little boy. I packed a bag, got in the car and left the house with Elliot, and we went to my childhood church where my friend was helping out with the youth group there. And so her name is Bailey and her husband's name is Nash. So Bailey took me to her mum's house. We got a blow-up mattress and we took it back to her house, and she cleared out their spare room and she set up a room for Elliot and I. And so I think that night it was already maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock or something like that. So by the time we wrapped everything up, I put Elliot to sleep, and I think I ended up just chatting with her for a bit and then going to bed myself. The next day, which is Monday the 28th, I obviously was just doing my regular thing, looking after Elliot, and at this point in time, guys, I had not decided yet that I was leaving. I just needed to escape the situation that I was in. I didn't really know what was going on at this point. I was still battling this thing in my heart where my head was saying get out, but my heart was saying stay. I was just so confused, and I didn't know what I was doing. That night when Bailey came home, I put Elliot to bed and I was just chatting through some things with her and sharing my heart with her. And crying already, but I was just sharing with her that my heart, I loved my husband and I wanted to make things work for us, for our family, for our little boy, but for God as well. And I had been fighting for our marriage for a very long time. Marriage is meant for two people, and two people to come together to be one and make a committed effort, both of them equally bringing to the table, bringing to the marriage. And that just wasn't the case. My marriage was very much, from my point of view, one-sided. I was the one willing to give anything and everything. There isn't any expense that I wouldn't give to make it work. There isn't any counselling, any option that I wouldn't take to try and make this work. But Oscar didn't want to come to the table. He was not committed. Now, something that took part in our relationship, not just our marriage, but the entirety of our relationship, was the use of pornography. Now, it's something that I was aware of when we were dating, and I did confront the issue, and I said that I didn't agree with it, it wasn't biblical, and I wasn't okay with it. And when we were dating, Oscar said, I understand where you're coming from, I'm going to get help for it, I'll get counselling, I'll talk through it, and I'm not going to do it. Now, over the course of our relationship, it came up a few times where I found it. It was always addressed that it wasn't okay. And so it got to the point where at the end of our relationship, I had begun praying a certain prayer to God. I was at the point of pure desperation. Like, I just needed a way out because I wasn't going to leave my marriage if God wasn't okay with it. And many times I prayed this prayer. I said, God, please, 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 let him cheat so that I can leave. Let him sleep with someone so that I can leave. Please, God, please, God, please, God, let him cheat so that I can leave. And that is an absolutely crazy prayer, right? And I think you can see how desperate I was, that was my prayer, that I was asking God to allow him to cheat so I could leave. Now, when I told Bailey about this, she brought up this scripture, which I'm going to read to you guys, and it's Matthew 5. I'm going to read from verse 27 and 28, and it says, so this part is teaching about adultery, and it says, you have heard the commandment that says, you must not commit adultery. But I say, anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And so Bailey brought up this scripture, and she said, if that was me and Nash had been looking at pornography, she said, he's already gone there in his mind. He's gone and sought pleasure in the body and the image of another woman. He's already gone there. She said, so if that was me in that situation, he's already cheated. He's confided in another woman rather than in me. And she said, I wouldn't stay around for it. At the time, it was like a penny drop to me. Now I realize it was the Lord releasing me from my marriage. It was God saying, it's okay. I give you permission to go. I give you permission to stop fighting, and I give you permission to get out. And this was really the moment for me that I was like, okay, God is okay with me leaving. Like, my husband did not honor his marriage vows. He didn't honor them. And as time goes, I will open up and I will share a bit more about things that came to light throughout the separation, things that I wasn't aware of, that I became aware of, that happened during our relationship. So anyway, God said to me, you can get out. The main part that I got out of that conversation with Bailey that night was that he hadn't been faithful to our marriage vows, and God was okay with me leaving. So the next day, Bailey, myself, Elliot and my dad were all due to go to my brother Jack's house and help out with some stuff. So we went to my brother's, and I apologise. It stopped recording, so I had to quickly jump in and record this bit again. So I received a phone call from Oscar. The one thing that I remember from the conversation is that I was talking to him about his porn use and just how that played out in our relationship and what role that took. And I remember him saying to me that he's not going to admit to anything unless I have proof. And I don't know what happened inside my heart, but when he said that, I just clicked, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't stick in a marriage where my husband is not going to admit to his wrongdoings in our marriage. Like, it's not all just me bringing stuff to the table. You have to work with me. And I realized that he wasn't willing to take accountability or responsibility for anything that he had done. before that conversation, my heart was still in it. And after that conversation, it was like the blinders had been lifted off, and I realized you need two people to make a marriage work. You actually need both parties equally committed to making it work and towards a common goal and a purpose. And the other party of my marriage, he was not prepared or willing in any way to take responsibility for his actions, to take accountability for his half of the marriage, because there's two of us. We have equal parts in it. I realized I can't make a marriage work when I'm the only one trying to make it work. And I told him it's over, and I hung up. And I went back out to Bailey and my dad, and I just said, it's over. It's done. It wasn't like I had this coldness towards him and towards our marriage, but it was definitely like a severing had been done, and that emotional connection, that desire to make it work, it was gone. Like, I was finished. I had decided, I'd made my mind up, like, it was over. One thing that my friend Taylor has said to me throughout this separation is that we can only make decisions based on what we know at the time. Now, this has stuck out to me for a couple of reasons. I went through a stage shortly after my separation that I was angry at God. Another thing I will expand on is that so many things came to the surface after we split, and it's for these reasons that I became angry at God. I was so incredibly angry at him, and I was mad at myself for not realizing things sooner and not knowing and making better decisions and deciding not to marry him and deciding not to date this man. And she just told me this all the time. Renee, you can only make decisions based on what you know at the time, and you didn't know. You didn't know the facts before. And one of the reasons why I was angry at God, because I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I don't know, but God knows. Like, God knew. Why didn't he step in? Why didn't he say stuff? Why didn't he show stuff? And I will go into that in a completely different video, because I will expand on that and explain how God spoke to me and got me through that season of my life. But one thing that I got out of it, Luke 8:17 is a scripture that I have really held on to throughout this, because it's just amazing. For all that is in secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to light and made known to all. And that has definitely been the case in our relationship. There were so many things that he had hidden, and just so many things that he wasn't truthful with from the very beginning of our relationship. And God has just brought so many things to light. I'm sure that there's more things in his life, but there's enough that I know now to realize that our whole relationship was based on a lie. There wasn't anything really that was truthful from his mouth. And God really used that when I was mad and angry at him to really shed some light on some things. But just know that, it says in his word that things in secret will be brought to the light, and they won't be concealed forever. So if that's something that you're struggling with right now, just anchor yourself in the knowledge that God knows and God sees, and he has got this. He's got you, he's got your situation, and they won't get away with it. Because like he says in his word, everything that is hidden will be brought into the light, and things that are concealed will not stay concealed forever. They will come out. So the next day was the 30th, I believe it was the Friday. So nothing much really happened. The next day I was just looking after Elliot and going about my thing. I don't really think it had really hit me yet either. I was just processing it. I'd never been in this situation before. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to navigate a separation and what steps to take. I believe through this week there had been communication with Oscar, and he was messaging me on my phone and asking me where I was and asking me to come back. And for that week, I had just been very minimal on my conversation with him, like those few phone calls I had picked up. But other than that, there hadn't really been much. I had really just been telling him, I need space, please just give me space, or ignoring his messages. I just needed time to process stuff. So in that sense, I don't really think there was much communication besides that for this first week. Yeah, I was just trying to dissolve it all and figure out what I was doing.